All right, thanks everybody for joining another edition of Free Training Thursday. Today we're going to be talking about setting up scheduled payments inside of Abacus Accounting. Just by show of hands, let me know if you can see my screen okay. If you can just click that little hand raising button there, just to let me know. All right, thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody else. And so by that, I guess I can assume that you can all hear me okay. So again, we're going to be talking about scheduled payments. I also have my colleague Amanda on the line as well. She's going to be fielding questions from the crowd. So please make sure you type those questions into the question box there or into the little chat box. And we will get to those, as many of them as we can, towards the end of our session. And just in case you didn't know, you'll also receive a recording of this session as well, and it will also be available on our website here in the next day or two. So scheduled payments and Abacus Accounting, I actually look at this as being kind of like a two-part situation. What I like to do is set up the scheduled payment itself inside of Abacus Accounting and then have almost like a calendar rule created inside of AbacusLaw. So that way I can, have those two things kind of running at the same time. And I don't always have to go into Abacus Accounting to see who owes us money, right? I can just, when I open up my daily calendar inside of AbacusLaw, I can see a notification there as well. So we'll actually start in the Abacus Accounting program first because we have to set up the payment. And then I'll show you the AbacusLaw portion. So inside of Abacus Accounting, we have a little section called Matter Maintenance. And if you click the Matters button on your toolbar there, it's the one that looks like a little yellow folder. If you click that, that will take you into your Matters browse window. And this is where you're going to open up the matter that you want to set up this payment schedule for. Now, when that opens up that Matter Maintenance window, you have a few different tabs here. The two big ones that most people adjust things in are billing and rates. We're going to focus on billing for right now, since billing obviously encompasses payment schedules. You'll notice inside of this billing tab, we have two very important sections here. One says billing mode, one says billing frequency. Now, notice billing frequency has quite a few options here: monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, end of matter, and then down at the very bottom, payment schedule. So depending upon the billing mode, that usually ties to what the billing frequency is going to be as well. Like, for instance, if we're billing, like a divorce case monthly, we're probably billing that hourly. Contingency cases are probably being billed end of matter. But a lot of times with our flat fee cases, we have the ability to do a payment schedule. That's pretty common in some criminal defense cases like DUIs or something like that, right? We put in our flat fee, we choose payment schedule as our billing frequency, and then really all we need to do at this point is enter in whatever that flat fee amount is. We'll do 5,000. How about that? Okay. And then notice when I clicked that payment schedule radial button there under billing frequency, another tab showed up. Okay, I'll show that to you again. Notice when it's on monthly, fee sharing is the last tab. When I click payment schedule, now I have a whole other tab there for payment schedules. So then I can just click this tab, and now I'm brought to a different menu where I get to decide how I want to set up these different installments. So notice my matter info is already in there, so I've got the name of my matter. I've got my total flat fee amount in there as well. Okay, if I didn't have that set as a flat fee, I'd be able to actually type in that field and put in whatever I want the amount to be, just so you know. And then we have to figure out how we're calculating these installments. So these are going to be calculated by the amount, in other words, the amount per installment, or are we calculating this by number of installments? So if I calculate this by installment amount, then I obviously need to put that in to my installment amount area. So if I was going to say, I don't know, maybe $500 a month, okay, I'd put in $500, make sure I put in my first due date. Okay, we'll do September 1st. Okay, and then our time interval. In other words, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, so on and so forth. So we'll be nice and we'll just say monthly here. Okay, and then once we click add, that generates all of our installment dates. Okay, so notice our first one is 9/1, and then every month pushing out until that $5,000 is met, we see those dates. Okay, now if I cancel this real quick, just so I can show you again what it looks like when we do it the other way. And again, I'm just opening up my matter inside of matter maintenance, clicking on my billing tab, choosing my billing format, or my billing mode rather, putting in my flat fee amount if it is in fact flat fee. Okay, and then I'm clicking payment schedule, go to that payment schedule tab. And now for the second way to do it would be to calculate by number of installments. So if I click that option, notice how my field changes. Right now I put in the number of installments. I click, whatever I want it to be, I don't know, 20. Okay, I put in my first due date, put in my time interval, and I click add. Okay, now it's breaking that down mathematically. So I've got, some installments here at $250, but look what happens probably when I get, it actually worked, the math worked out good. Well, obviously, because it's 5,000 and I did it by 20. But if it were, just a wacky number or something, whatever that final payment was, it's possible that it won't be the same amount as the rest of them. It's most likely going to be a little bit less, I would say. Okay. So once we have these created, okay, we have our schedule created, we can click save here. And now that's going to save that inside of that matter maintenance for only that matter. Okay. So now I click done. And when it's time to actually take that payment or to, run that invoice, okay, I can go in here to my print bills option to print out this person's invoice for their payment. And you can see when I click add, I have the option to do this by billing mode and then billing frequency. Okay, so I can say, show me all of my scheduled payments that are a billing mode of flat fee. Okay, so now it's going to find that matter for me, and I'll be able to, run that bill. Now, again, like I said, that's kind of the first part, but I like to teach people to use their calendar rules. So, that part's all fine and dandy, but we don't want to have to go into accounting and run a report or open up our matters, to see which ones owe us money on that day. So what I like to do, especially if it's a monthly or, like bi-weekly or weekly payment schedule, which usually it is, rarely do I see payment schedules set up by installment amount. Number of installments. I usually see it set up by installment amount, and then it's usually, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Those are the most popular. But once we have that established, I can go into my AbacusLaw program. Okay, I can go into my matter, the matter that I'm just now set up as a payment schedule, open that up, go into my events tab, okay, and I can right-click and add an event from a rule. And what I've done is I've actually set up a rule called payments. Okay, and if you aren't familiar with how to set up calendar rules, I really suggest you check your reference guide or check out our videos online. Also, we've done a few webinars on setting up calendar rules. So you could also check some of the historical webinars on our website, and this would be beneficial to you. But here's my payment rule. So I would choose that. Okay, I would set my date. This would be the date of the first payment. Okay, and then I can just put a little note in here. First payment due. I click save. It's going to ask me if I want to schedule all of the related events. So the related events are all those, other payment dates. So I would say yes. And there we go. So you can see we have, we've got one on 9/1, one on 10/1, 11/1, 12/1, so on and so forth. So if I click done here, now I've got all of those payments actually on the calendar. So if I go to, if I just come into work today and I open up my calendar, or we'll pretend like it's the first, if I open up my calendar, you can see right there, first payment due. I got another one on there from a previous training, but you can see right there, first payment due. So every time I look at this calendar, I know, oh, Bob D. Scott, they have a payment due today. Let's call them up and let's get our money. So that is the gist of creating payment schedules. Remember, just as a quick recap, it all starts inside of accounting. You got to go into that matter maintenance, open up that matter, and make sure on your billing tab you choose the payment schedule billing frequency. And then once you do that, just make your decision on whether or not you want to do it by installment number or by dollar value. Okay? And then once that's done, if you want to have some reminders on your calendar, just create a calendar rule that intervals by month, and you'll have that on there as well. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Amanda for any questions. Feel free to just type those into the question box, and we'll get as many answered as we can.
All right, thank you, Scott. It doesn't look like we have any questions yet, but I will pause and wait for them to come through.
Yeah, no worries. While people are thinking, when you are running your bills, I always like to point this out. In this window where you are, this is the bill selection window. You come to this whenever you're running a pre-bill or you're printing, like an actual bill. This bill by group tab is very, very handy if you've never used it. The other option is to select your bills individually, which is great if you're just doing one or two bills and you just want to look them up by matter name, you can do that. But this bill by group option is very handy because it acts like a filter. So again, like if I was doing just my payment schedule bills, I could come in here to billing frequency, choose scheduled payments, okay, and when I click done, I'm going to see anyone, that, may potentially fall into that matter or that, that scenario. So.
All right, Scott, it would appear that you were very thorough because I don't see any questions coming through. So if no one
I try definitely. If anybody, if questions come up, when everybody tries this on their own, always check the reference guide. And a lot of people don't know this trick, but if you have the program open on your screen and you hit the F1 key on your keyboard, that will actually open up your Abacus Accounting and your AbacusLaw reference guides, and they're searchable. So you can search for scheduled payments and find a little bit more info, or always feel free to email training@abacusnext.com and we can answer any questions for you as well.
All right, thank you, Scott, and thank you for presenting today. That concludes today's webinar. As a reminder, you can find this on our website at abacusnext.com/webinars or in your inbox following the webinar. Thank you to everyone for attending today.